on the operation and also provide advice. We also require the management of the Kai Tak Sports Park to formulate contingency plans in case of emergencies. They need to strengthen their decision-making mechanism so as to ensure that the management has full grasp of operational difficulties. And after the decision is made, they have to ensure that the decision is implemented in earnest during operation. Third, there must be a mechanism for a spokesperson to convey message to the public in case of any arrangement changes. In this regard, we will maintain a very close liaison with the management of the park to ensure that the mechanisms are running smoothly.
Second question, the gentleman over there.
Some English question from the South China Morning Post. So firstly, about the controversy surrounding the deal by CK Hutchison Holdings to sell the ports that it owns. Firstly, what is the government's view on the deal itself, and how should the company respond amid this apparent criticism by Beijing? Secondly, you mentioned earlier that any deal made in Hong Kong must adhere to the local laws and legislations. Could you elaborate a little bit on what you mean by that? Perhaps would the government consider using its own legislation like national security law or potentially something else? And secondly, about the raising of the Hong Kong public hospital fees. When raising the fees of certain medical services provided by the government, how can the government itself ensure that residents in need would not have their diagnosis delayed due to these extra charges? And how would you address concerns that private hospitals might also raise their prices in light of this? Thank you.
Well, in regard the transactions you mentioned, I have 3 points to make. First, there have been extensive discussions in society about the issue, and this reflects society's concern over the matter. These concerns deserve serious attention. Second, the Hong Kong SAR government urges foreign governments to provide a fair and just environment for enterprises, including enterprises from Hong Kong. We oppose the abusive use of coercion or bullying tactics in international economic and trade relations. Third, any transaction must comply with the legal and regulatory requirements. Hong Kong will handle it in accordance with the law and regulations. In regard to your question about reviews of charges and fees of hospitals, I might first of all emphasize this review is part of the healthcare reform. I have given 3 principles to Health Bureau in this healthcare reform in relation to review of fees and charges. First, it is not an expenditure cutting exercise. We shall spend no less money, just to readjust the spending distribution for the sake of efficiency and effectiveness. Second, priority should be given to the most needed. These include helping those with economic difficulties and those cases in which the patient suffers from emergency, the most serious and critical illnesses. Third, reduced waste of resources, including drugs and services waste. I have urged Health Bureau to finalize the review and announce the details as soon as possible. And we aim at announcing the details within this month.
Sorry, Mr. Lee, do you have anything to say about the legal aspect of the CK Hutchison deal? Thank you.
We will deal with it in accordance with the law and regulations.
好，仲有一條提問，右手邊男記者係最。
The last question, the gentleman in the last row. I'm from One Way Poll. Some suggest that Hong Kong and Guangzhou vehicles should be able to use different ports to travel in and out of the mainland and Hong Kong. What are your takes? Also, there are views that the current term government should be bold in driving reforms and that it should speed up the development of the third medical school in Hong Kong to facilitate the development of INT in Hong Kong. What are your views on this? A private car may make use of different cross-boundary ports. From the driver's perspective, of course, this would be very convenient. However, we do have to ensure that the traffic at different cross-border points would be smooth. One consideration that we have to take into account is that if there aren't any regulations or controls, some of the ports that provide more convenience may see serious traffic congestions, and the congestion may affect the urban areas. Also, cross-boundary control points, they involve traffic at the mainland as well as in Hong Kong. So the traffic authorities between the two places, they have to deal with the potential traffic congestion issues. And they have to make sure that their counterparts or traffic authorities from two places will be able to cope with any traffic congestion issues. And this requires the cooperation between the two places. We have to make sure that vehicles can make use of as many ports as possible for their traveling. So starting from 2023, for private cars as well as cross-boundary coaches, they have been allowed to make use of different cross-border control points. We will study whether there could be other arrangements. We will listen to more views to see how we can ensure smooth traffic at the cross-boundary control points to meet citizens' aspirations. We will work with the relevant mainland authorities to monitor the situation and discuss the issues with different parties. Now, on the third medical school, the SAR government attaches a lot of importance to it because it is part of our healthcare reform. We have to make sure that there are enough doctors in our healthcare system and that the doctors meet our expectations and requirements. We have already established a task force on reviewing the proposals that have been submitted to it on the third medical school. We've got 3 proposals from 3 different universities. The members from the task group, they have rich knowledge about the medical system. We've got representatives from the Hong Kong Medical Council as well as the Hong Kong Medical Academy. We have to look at whether the proposal meets our requirements, which includes the professional competencies of doctors, as well as how the medical school would make use of the resources. There are 10 things that we will take into account as we review the proposal. And members of the task group will look into these 10 factors with the universities that have submitted their proposals. We will review the proposals as soon as possible. And the task group will talk to the 3 applicants fully to see how they will be able to meet the relevant requirements and standards, and the task group will make a report to the government as soon as possible. That's the end of the press conference. Thank you.